this crisis is over, there has to be a vision of what comes next. And in our view, it has to be a two-state solution.
That still has to be the goal we're driving to, a state for Palestinians that they can live in peace and security and justice.
The Biden administration's naive approach to terror remain woefully inadequate to meet the growing threat of radical Islamic terrorism.
As Israel gets ready to go into Gaza to take out Hamas after the attacks of October 7th, there's talk of a two-state solution again. Axios writes it this way: Biden's post-war plan, new talks on the Israel-Palestine two-state solution. Reality check: a two-state solution has been an elusive goal for many Middle East diplomats for decades, and it's unclear whether the post-war political situations for Israel, the Palestinian Authority, and neighboring Arab nations will allow any renewed peace process, particularly such an ambitious one. Let's bring in our panel. Byron York, chief political correspondent of the Washington Examiner, Leslie Marshall, Democratic strategist, and Josh Kraushaar, a Fox News radio political analyst. Josh, what do you make of that?
Well, there's a little bit of tone deafness from the Biden administration's response. They've been pretty strong in their support for Israel, and at the same time, they've been urging caution in private. And look, from Israel's perspective, the main goal is to take out Hamas, to engage in what is going to be a very bloody, very, very difficult invasion in all likelihood in the coming days of a very, very difficult territory. And look, there is a need to think about what Gaza is going to look like in the future, and that's certainly been a message from White House leaders and from John Kirby at the briefing today. But I think there's a disconnect between what the United States wants, and some of the Israeli press have called it a bear hug, that they're very closely aligned with Israel in public, but in private they're constraining the Israeli response and maybe offering a lot of caution, when in Israel they want to take out Hamas and deal with the terrorist threat and restrain and come up with some deterrence against a very, very deadly threat on their border.
You know, for years, I had Dr. Charles Krauthammer at my first base on the panel, and we weighed in about Israel and Middle East peace a lot of different times. I just want to play this soundbite. This is from 2014. We like to do this to look back at our late colleague, because he often said things then that still are very prescient now. Take a listen.
The Palestinians, the moderate Palestinians, the Fatah Palestinians, Abbas, have shown again and again that in the end, when it comes to making the final deal to get a peace with Israel, they are not interested. And the reason is this: they will not accept a Jewish state in their midst. And as Netanyahu said, Abbas repeated that again: they will not recognize a Jewish state. And once you make a pact with Hamas, which is openly dedicated, proudly dedicated to destroying Israel and to actually attacking Jews all over the world. That's actually in their charter. You have announced you're not interested in peace. Israel can't possibly conclude a peace with the Palestinian government, half of whom is consisted of people who want to destroy Israel.
It's pretty amazing, Leslie. You could play that today, and it still works today.
First time I was ever on your show, I sat next to him. I was very nervous. I miss him very much. But I would have to say that when we look at what the president is saying, and to Josh's point, and even yours, Brett, I mean, the goal of not just Israel, the goal of the United States and other allies who back Israel, perhaps, you know, one would say the world, even Arab nations, is get rid of Hamas. And then what does it look like for Gaza and for the West Bank? Interestingly enough, most Gazans do want a two-state solution, but to Charles' point, most in the West Bank do not. But I think that's the only way going forward. I really do. This has been something that's been discussed between, you know, about 50 plus years. This is something the entire international community that support Israel and that our allies truly want. And this is a way where the Palestinian people won't feel that Israel are oppressors. They have their freedom, but nothing can be done until Hamas is gone. And obviously, recognizing the state of Israel has to be part of the terms of a two-state solution.
Byron, I want to turn, as this focus obviously is on the war in Israel, Jackie mentioned it in her piece, there is amazing growth happening in the economy for the Biden administration, 4.9%. If you look over the time here, this GDP growth is significant. The Wall Street Journal says that it is very strong, driven by a consumer spree. And you look at what's happened here just in this last quarter. Yet when you look at the president's economic poll numbers, they haven't caught up. 37%, 4.9% may change that dynamic, Byron.
Well, that's because the chart is very impressive, but people haven't really felt it in their lives. First of all, we should say this is a time when a lot of people, including me, thought there would be a recession by now. And instead, not only is there not a recession, but you've had really, really high growth in this previous quarter. So give the Biden administration credit for that. On the other hand, people are feeling that their purchasing power has been greatly diminished, that inflation has cut into their quality of life, that they can't buy a house. We're seeing people withdraw from their retirement funds to make ends meet. So there's still a real sense of hardship out there. So when they see, wow, 4.9% in the preceding quarter, it doesn't really affect them because it's not showing up in their lives.
Yeah, but you still got to give it credit for GDP at 4.9, which we mentioned in the show, and we wanted to point out here. Panel, thank you. A little shorter tonight. Appreciate it.